Hey, Julian here for 0x. Today I'm going to give you 10 reasons why our technology is so disruptive. At 0x, we have designed a small reactor that can convert waste into clean energy anywhere in the world. They're portable, they're easy to manufacture, and they take so many different waste streams from sewage sludge to farm waste to agricultural waste and beyond. So how cool is that? Number one, we are empowering communities to use their own waste as a resource, as energy and biochar, as a fertilizer, for example, on site. This also reduces all the trucks going in and out, all the air pollution that is associated with that. So double whammy, empowering communities, apartment buildings, hotels to take their own waste and turn it into something useful. Number two, balancing power. We're all talking about solar energy, and that is amazing, but the sun doesn't always shine. So what are you going to do the rest of the time? You can use your waste to power your homes while the sun is not shining, put some battery storage in the middle to kind of balance the whole thing out, and boom, there you go. You don't need any more coal, nothing. You're already just using the resources that otherwise would probably end up on the landfill. Number three, bringing power to over 1 billion people on this planet that still don't have reliable access to electricity. When we set out to build this machine, we started in rural India because there's still a lot of places in the world where people don't have access to electricity or they use diesel generator. Which brings us to number four, which is reducing fossil fuel consumption from diesel and coal. There's still so many diesel generators all over the globe. You will not believe it, here in Southeast Asia, in Africa. We can replace all of them by simply using the waste, running it through our machine, putting the gas into the existing diesel generators, reducing carbon emissions, and making their energy cleaner and cheaper than it is right now. Number five is an absolute biggie. We know how much ocean plastic we are floating here in the ocean. If you go to the beach after a rainfall, you're like knee-high in waste. Where does that waste come from? It comes from places like here in Bali, where we don't have waste treatment on site. So the waste gets picked up, it gets thrown somewhere in the mangroves on a landfill. It rains a lot, it washes into the ocean, and they will swim for generations. So we have to stop using landfills in countries like Indonesia, where it rains a lot, for example. So how can that happen? And all these thousands and thousands of little islands, little communities, many of them don't have a lot of money, use our technology. We can convert that clean into energy so you don't have to use diesel to power your homes. How cool is that? Ocean plastic problem solved. Number five. Number six. So now we're talking about carbon capture, and we are using a process that takes those waste streams and turn that into energy and biochar. That's already great, but we have some CO2 emissions because we're producing the energy. But we still have a lot of carbon in that char. How can we now store that? That char is now chemically stable, so we'll have no methane emission, which is a lot worse than CO2, and we can turn that into building blocks, for example, or we can use that into fertilizer if the feedstock that we're using is purely biological. So that is huge. Number six, we can capture carbon for long periods of time on a massive scale, converting all these waste streams into ash, putting them into bricks or fertilizer, and putting it onto the ground or in the ground for generations to come. Number seven, and this might be a problem you might not even be aware of, but if you live in India, for example, if you're in New Delhi and everything is smoked up, about 70% of the air pollution in developing countries comes from crop burning. It is an old tradition where you set your crop that's left over after the harvest on fire, and that smokes up everything because it's usually very wet. I wouldn't even call it burning, it's like more like smoldering. We have this in Indonesia here all the time, it's happened all the time. It's really just not very good for anybody. It smells really, really bad, and it's also not good for your health. So instead of doing that, we can convert that into clean energy and biochar, and that biochar still has all the minerals available so you can put it back into the ground and you don't need any additional fertilizer. So it's a double whammy right there, but if you can stop crop burning in countries like India, everybody will benefit, and it's really huge, even though you might not have heard about it. Number eight, also big, not just in the developing world, is reducing diseases, for example, that come with all the waste. If you think about India, for example, or rural areas, there's still a big problem of what are you going to do with your poo, for example. It's quite simple as that. You can run sewage sludge through our machine together with other manure, with everything else. The temperatures we use are so hot that at the end of this, you're definitely not going to get sick. There's no bacteria, no nothing. It's really rather sterile when it comes out of the process. So how big is that? This is also wastewater treatment on a decentralized scale that can be deployed anywhere. Huge for India and beyond. Number 9. Now suddenly, after 15 years, it has become a thing. Everybody's talking about hydrogen. And why are they talking about hydrogen? Because we need to store energy, and at the same time, we also need to find sources to replace natural gas. We can do that. We can use oxygen and steam within our reactor to produce hydrogen on a very small footprint. Usually hydrogen refineries are huge, right? And then you have to transport it, compress it, cool it down. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of infrastructure to do that. We can do that better. Let's say you want to charge a truck that has a fuel cell in it. You could turn your waste into hydrogen right where you're charging the truck. Let's do it on the gas station if you want to, for example. Now, how huge is that? A little bit of future music right there, but this could be a huge thing in the future because transporting hydrogen right now is still too costly for many applications. I think we can bring it down. And now number 10 is huge right now, and that is reducing the dependency on Russian gas and oil in Europe. Yes, when we set out to turn waste into hydrogen 15 years ago, the gas price was at 3 cents. Nobody was talking about it. It was kind of crazy. But at this point, everybody's looking for alternatives. We got an alternative right here. We got massive amounts of waste stream and we need the gas. And it turns out, as we just found on a big tender in Paris, we're the only company can do that. So think about it. Instead of buying natural gas via pipeline, produce your own hydrogen or methane and feed it into the grid wherever you are. That is going to be a huge future market for the next few years, and it's definitely going to reduce the dependency on Russian gas. Maybe you understand now why we at 0x have been working at this for so long. This goes far beyond building a company. This has become a labor of love, our life's mission, because one piece of technology can be disruptive and so beneficial in so many walks of life. But let's not forget our customers. How are they going to save money? How are they going to benefit immediately? Waste treatment costs money, and we are producing energy from it, which again is now at record high prices. So you get about 60% of savings already from your waste treatment because it doesn't need to be landfilled or shipped anywhere else, and you get cheaper or free energy. In many cases, the energy we produce actually has a negative generation cost because the cost of waste treatment is so high otherwise. So you benefit from it, you're reducing your carbon footprint, your customers will thank you, you got a great story, you're not shipping waste around anymore, and you're saving money, and you have more dependable, cleaner energy on site. So what's not to love? So this is it from 0x, why we're doing this. I hope you had some fun with this.